Hey, welcome to our FaBFaM, Flesh and Blood friends, Flesh and Blood friends and memories. Today we are joined by Flake. You should all know him by his incredible casting.
Welcome to the chaos.
Yeah, it's nice to be here. The very flattering introduction is very well appreciated. Thank you for that.
Like, let's start with how we met.
I think we met I think it was in New Jersey. I don't know if I was in line to meet Federico Musetti,
Yep.
who now is like a friend of mine, which is awesome.
That's so
We went out for
sick.
dinner when we were in France, which was cool. It was just like
That's
it's
awesome.
such an interesting thing how these things evolve, where you're like waiting in line to meet someone, and then the next thing you know, you're at a drag queen cabaret with somebody and just like having a good time. You and I met, I think all three of us we met in New Jersey,
Yep.
if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think you approached me to say hello, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we wanted to get a picture.
And then we just had a conversation, and that was it.
Yeah, so he remembers it that way. We remember it completely different. So there was DM Armada, Red Zone Rogue, and I saw Flake, and unfortunately, I didn't know Flake as well as I should have, I guess, at that point. Focusing on our content mainly, I didn't really have a chance to expand my horizons with many content creators, but I knew Flake had done some casting, and I was like, ooh, let's see if we can get a picture with him. And this dude was probably the nicest human I've ever talked to in my life.
Okay.
Both Amy and I are like, hey, can we get a picture? And we end up having a conversation for like 5 minutes, like we've known the guy for years.
Yes, I do remember that. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I had no idea who you were. I just knew you were a guy in a suit, and Hank wanted to take a picture with you. And so I was like, all right, we're going to take a picture with him.
A suit is a little bit of a stretch. It's like this sort of blazer I got at Sears like 10
I loved
years
it.
ago.
Yeah, it's a good look.
Meeting people is always fun. It's always lovely, and it still doesn't sort of connect with me that people want to take a picture with me. Like I'm there for the same reason that everyone else is, to enjoy card games. I just happen to have a different role in the whole experience than others do. I have, a very exclusive role, as it were. But it's something that I've yet to reconcile, is that people want to come meet me or take pictures or whatnot. Like Abby, like when you're like, who the hell is this clown? I was like, yeah, who the hell am I? Like I'm a nobody. So when people are just like, oh, you're so nice, like I treat people that, with the way that I want to be treated. Like people come out of their way to talk to me. They deserve my attention. The one time that if something kind of is abrupt is if I'm finished like a match for casting. I get like maybe like if I have to do the next one, I maybe have 2 to 3 minutes in between, and if I have to pee, I have to pee. And like
that's understandable.
I just sort of beeline it to the bathroom. You'll usually see me, if you're at an event, you probably see me sprinting to the bathroom multiple times in a day, because I drink a lot of coffee, and thus, as nature would have it, you need to put it somewhere after, and I just beeline it, and people are like, hey, how's it going? And like, I stop,
Gotta pee.
and I'm like, hey, good, not bad, whatever. I'm like, listen, I like, find me later. But I would never blow anybody off. Like, that's just not the right way that anybody should.
Yeah, it's good. I agree with that. And like, I've spoken to so many different people, but like, just our first interaction was probably the best interaction I think I've ever had with anyone speaking for the first time. Because there's been plenty of people that are nice when you first meet them, but it was like, hey, it was almost like we were reconnecting after years of not talking.
That's what it felt like. It was. I was very confused because I was like, did I forget him?
Yeah, you left the biggest impression on Amy, I think, of anyone that we met, because she was like, oh my gosh, that guy was amazing. It was like we knew the guy.
But I have a horrible memory, so of course internally I was like, oh my god,
I forgot this person, didn't I?
I don't know who he is.
Right after that, Amy's like, wow, that guy's is Frank, was it? Steve? Either way, cool blazer from Sears. Like, absolutely.
So after New Jersey, we kept in contact, and then Flake, you started doing some private casting for the normal people, and you casted a match for us.
Incredible match.
The normal people wouldn't be how I would tag it. However,
no, he just said we're not normal.
No, neither am I. I would say that being weird and being abnormal is an asset versus a boon in any way. However, I did sort of dip my toe. The issue is that when casting is your main gig, you work contract to contract. You don't have a salary. You don't have any stable income.
Right.
So you are constantly chasing contracts and constantly searching for ways to pay the rent. If I didn't have France, I would not be paying rent the next 2 months. If I didn't have whatever nationals or worlds, like this is sort of
It's your
the
job.
the difficult reality of being a contracted person like myself, like an independent broadcaster, is that I don't know when my next work is going to be. So you chase it all, and you because you have to. The private casting, which I would still do, absolutely. It's basically, you guys approached me, said we have a match that we want you to broadcast and we want you to do play by play for. And for a fee, I do it. I send you the footage, and you do with it what you please. And that is something that I haven't really been actively promoting or whatnot. It's always there. If somebody has matches they want me to cast, I'm absolutely open to doing it. But yeah, that's just kind of an extra sprinkles on the paying rent and eating food necessity of life.
Right, so that transitions perfectly. We just an incredible human, and then he casted our match, and it really is incredible. You guys, BCW, Rick and him did an incredible job. So seriously, if you guys need something cast and you want to feed our caster here, make sure you guys reach out to him. He does incredible work, and it's definitely worth the money. So if you guys want to support him in any way, that's a cool way to do it. You get something out of it, and you get something incredible to show everyone. So definitely check that out.
I enjoyed our casting. Rewatching it, it was hilarious.
So
The commentary was perfect.
It's so good.
Thank you.
So, Flake, can you tell us how exactly you got into casting in the first place? I don't know that it's necessarily a normal career path for people.
Definitely not a normal career path for people, but being a non-normie, as we call ourselves, it's certainly something that I was passionate about all the way through in like middle of high school up until college, university. I've always enjoyed performing. I've enjoyed entertaining. I used to do a little bit of like stand-up comedy. I used to do a lot of improv and like event hosting for talent shows with like my university and stuff like that. I used to do a lot of that. I was friends with certain like comedians and whatnot, and it was something that I always wanted to do. But for me, like sports radio was my initial target of where I wanted to go.
Cool.
So I interned at a radio station. Yeah, I interned at it's like the equivalent. It's like the Canadian equivalent of ESPN. It's called TSN, the Sports Network.
Okay.
Their Montreal radio station. I interned there for about a year and was on the air there for a little bit in clips and phrases. But eventually, unpaid internships, like I said, doesn't pay your tuition, doesn't pay whatever. So it was a tough thing to sort of drop to go ahead and essentially finish my degree and get things done. I was just tired of being broke and tired. So I had to make a decision.
Yeah.
So I decided to. I actually left school and worked full time as a bartender for 3 years, which allowed me to, get a car, get a condo, pay my bills, earn a nest egg to fall back on, and then go back to school and complete it. But my degree was in political science. It was not even in anything broadcast or journalism related. But in the meantime, like when I graduated, all I wanted to do was play cards, and I got introduced to streaming. And from that point onward, I was like, this is the perfect marriage for me. It's broadcasting, it's card games, it's what I enjoy. I streamed like Hearthstone and Gwent. And I got into it basically because I wanted to try it, and I thought I would be good at it. But again, it's like anything. Like you need experience, you need people to trust you with something, and without a portfolio that you can show somebody, like they're never going to hire you. So what I did was myself and a couple friends put together our own what we call the American Gwent Championships. Gwent is a very European game, and yeah, so North America didn't have a big footprint for it, so we basically put on our own tournament in Philadelphia, organized it out of pocket, had a bunch of people show up for several days, and awarded a trophy, it was actually a wrestling belt engraved with the championship name. Yeah, it was wicked cool. And that was my first on-air experience of hosting the event and interviewing the players before and after, or whatnot. I didn't do play-by-play, but that event essentially put me on the radar for CDPR, who makes Gwent, and they contacted me and they're like, "Would you like to host our major tournament in Poland in whatever months?" I said, "Hell yeah!" And when I did
Absolutely.
that, they really liked me, and they had an opening for play-by-play. So they're like, "Look, send us an audition tape of you casting a Gwent match, and we'll go from there." So I sent them one. They're like, "All right, we're gonna pair you up with so and so, and fly free and do what you got to do." And
It's so cool.
after the first event, again, my personality is such that it's hard to mask or suppress. So I just let myself bleed through in the
Yeah.
commentary, and I've been working with CDPR for 5 years now.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
A lot less lately. However, I'm still sort of in their back pocket for events if they need me.
Okay.
But that's how it started, and that turned into the career that you see before you. But the issue that a lot of people don't realize is that before I got paid a single dime for casting, I put in probably about 2,000 hours of broadcasting. Uh,
2,000
be it on
hours?
yeah, I'd say like 2,000 hours
Wow.
of streaming Gwent every single day for after work. Like I had an office job. I did 9 to 5. I came home at 6 o'clock. I ate, and from 7 to 10 p.m. every night, I was streaming,
Wow.
just so that I can connect with the community, get a little bit more comfortable talking about the game while I'm playing it.
Mhm.
But yeah, 2,000 hours or so of streaming before I got my first paycheck. So what people don't realize is that you're not just plucked out of thin air. That
Right.
people like myself, like Tannen, like Brian Gottlieb, these people have thousands of hours of experience before they're even given a shake of the fist to be like, hey, you into it or not? Like, you want to try it
Right.
out?
Yeah.
So and then after that, that's where it's like you got to stay on people's good side. You got to make sure that you perform, and then that's where it is. So that's kind of where it started and where it's ended up.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's one of the reasons I wanted to bring. We're trying to hit all these different categories of types of people on Flesh and Blood, and that's why I just thought it was important to bring a caster on. So people, I mean, people see like all the the glory, like all the oh, look at this guy just gets to sit and talk about cards all day. Oh, what makes him so special? And it's like people really don't realize the grind that these people have to put in, and just something simple as our little goofy YouTube videos take us hours and hours of and trying to manage that between kids and work. There's a lot that goes into content creation. I don't know that people realize how difficult casting is. So it's nice to bring a light to that. So you started with the Gwent. When was your first Flesh and Blood event that you did?
First Flesh and Blood event that I ever did was the U.S. Nationals in Orlando, and I have a friend of mine. Name's Eiley Loney. She's actually goes by Alias V on the internet. She's
Okay.
actually a caster for Magic the Gathering,
Oh.
Oh, okay.
like arena.
Mhm.
She started out in Gwent. Her and I kind of introduced her a little bit to Magic, and
Mhm.
so you're welcome to her. I say that. I mean, like she would have made it on her own and
Right.
no problem.
Yeah.
But she blazed her own trail in Magic and was on their broadcast squad and really put her fingerprint on that game and in that realm. But when Flesh and Blood came around, she had a good relationship with Channel Fireball. And again, I was just some rando scrub starting out a podcast and going through there. I had a lot of experience in casting. I had been casting professionally for 3 years by then,
Right.
but I didn't have any ins with the game. I was
Mm.
a relative nobody. So I asked her if she could put me in touch with somebody at Channel Fireball just to give me a sniff, to actually notice me on the radar.
Right.
So she put me in contact with somebody there, and then I sent them my demo reel and all my experience, and they said, "Yeah, let's give you a shot. Let's try you out in Orlando."
That's
So
cool.
I jumped in, trial by fire in that regard. Just right away getting paired up with like Tannen, paired up with Red Zone Rogue, Armada, people like that, and we got to a point where after that first day, I felt comfortable. After the weekend, I basically solidified that this was absolutely where my future lie, where it lay. So I dug into it. I continued to pursue. I continued to improve at the game, and that's where we're at now. I've got 2 Pro Tours, a few callings, and nationals under my belt, and I'm excited.
That's so awesome. Yeah. That's actually our first in-person experience was Orlando too, so it sucks we didn't get a chance to meet then. But yeah, I went for the whole weekend, and you showed up for a day, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
only
you showed
played.
up
I
for
only
one
played
day.
like a sealed event or something.
Yeah,
One
and
side one.
so like it's funny, like you say that you started at Orlando and then you just kept getting better at the game. For us, it was we both went to Orlando, and that's when like around that time is when I started convincing wifey to be on the channel, and thank God I did, because the channel is nothing without her. Like the reason that we succeed at anything right now is just because of the banter that you're probably going to see in outtakes of this video of just her refusing to do outtakes, and like it's just fun. It's just us being us, and people just like it. So luckily that's the case. But we again kind of started in Orlando, and now we're to the point where we want to get better at the game. And so we just did a live stream where we opened all of our boxes aside from what we need for our gameplay series, and it was so that we can buy cards and get better at the game. Our goal together is to compete and see how we finish. Like that's our ultimate goal now. Whereas it's no longer just about content creation. We want to get good at the game. We want to be content creators that are good at the game. So
the best part is we are the exact same people in person as we are online.
Right.
100%. If you were to meet us in person,
just cuss a little more in person.
This is it.
That's the way to be. It's the easiest thing to do. It's
so easy.
Rely on your own personality.
So easy, yeah. Because you don't have to worry about like there's no thing that like you're relying on. It's just like, hey, we're being us and we're pressing record. So it's very nice.
You either like it or you don't.
There's no shtick, as it were. That's the one thing that I always find is like when I used to stream and I would host another streamer. There's like a solid like 10 or 15 second delay before they realize that they've been. So you get that 10-second to 15-second window of who they actually are.
Exactly.
And when the host comes in, or the raid comes in with all these viewers, suddenly they're back on this like gimmick, or they're back on this person, like this fake personality of trying to like portray who they think people want to consume, and maybe it is what they want to consume. But I've always felt like the way that I am on my casting, the way that I am in person, the way that I am on the podcast, on streams, whatever. It's like who I am. Because I honestly, God, I do not have the patience to be anyone but myself. I don't have the.
I don't have the energy,
effort within me to want to fake anything. I am who I am. Like me or hate me, I could not care less.
That's honestly the reason I started YouTube, is because I had been semi-successful on Twitch, to where I found that my content wasn't special. There was nothing I was doing that was special. People just liked me for me, and so I was like, you know what? If people like me enough to watch me on Twitch, maybe I can make it on YouTube, because, and so I started with doing like these daily vlogs and stuff. And then I was like, you know what? I love cards. I've always wanted to do something with cards. I'm just going to start a channel about cards, and hopefully people like me for me, and that'll be enough. And luckily right around that time came into Flesh and Blood. I introduced her into the game, which she enjoys no card games at all, and was like, I love this game. And I was like, oh.
Why do I love this game? Why? Because I was beating him with Prism.
There you go.
That's pretty much it. Prism is the whole reason that she plays the game. It's because she beat me relentlessly, because all we had was the pre-constructed blitz decks, and apparently Prism is just really good.
Well, now I don't even play Prism anymore, so that's even better.
Yeah, then she switched to Oldham. Yeah, great.
Love it. Love it.
All right, so how do you juggle casting events and still trying to enjoy them?
Oh, that's a big one. Yeah. Because you can't really enjoy it if you're casting.
No, you're not wrong. One of the greatest. I love going to these events. I just came back from France, right? I did New Jersey. You go to all these other events. The one thing that always, I don't say hurts my feelings, but you get the FOMO. Like there's the FOMO of not going, and then there's the FOMO of being a spectator, and that's all I am at these events.
That's sad.
I did 2 drafts while I was at the event. One was at like 8 p.m. on Friday after the whole thing was done. We sat around, 8 of us, and drafted a box. And the other was on Sunday night in the hotel at like midnight. We had a spare box and we drafted a box. That's it. I see these decks played. I see the CC, the draft, the side events. Are you kidding me? Like hearing the stories of players who play in that history box team event is like exactly what I want to be doing. I want to throw down a few bucks, open a history box, make 3 decks, and play against other people. Like that to me is what it's about.
That's so cool.
But I don't get that opportunity. My call times usually for these events are like I have to be at the venue at 8 a.m. I am there until 7 or 8 in the evenings, or whenever they wrap up. I'm usually there for about an hour later. So I'm there for 10 to 12 hours a day, not playing the game and watching everybody else play the game. And I love the game. So for Worlds, what I've done is I'm going to arrive on the Tuesday and leave on the Tuesday. So I've given myself, a few days ahead of the event and a day or two after the event, so that I can meet, hang out with people. The hardest part is like literally I show up and there's like all of my friends are there. Like all of my friends are there. And it's like, okay, there's the banquet on the Thursday night. The Saturday night, usually the tournament organizer or LSS organizes a dinner for everybody. So we go out with LSS for dinner. And then usually the Saturday, like the Friday night is like the only night that we can do things. But a lot of my friends are either day twoing the event or preparing for the calling, so they don't want to stay up or do much or whatnot.
Right.
So it's a very difficult thing to go there, not be able to play, barely see your friends, but you're also right in the eye of the hurricane at the same time. So you're seeing all the turbulence around you, but you're in this calm Zen state while you're trying to put on a good show. So it's tough. I wish I could do more. I go to every event that I possibly can. And for instance, for Canada, I decided I'm not going to cast it. I'm going to play it because
Heck yeah.
I want to play it.
Yeah. Yes, I mean I think that pretty much wraps up our casting section of this video. I really felt that it was important to just shine a light on casting, and it's not all glory. Like there's sacrifices you have to make, not only to start doing it, but also to continue to do it. Because like he said, he doesn't get to participate in these events. Like, yeah, he's there, he's a core of it, he's gonna remember all the great play moments, but he doesn't get to make his own. And so I just think that's important to realize that these guys are putting in a lot of work and doing a lot of things that people probably just don't see. So
Well, there's a lot of research to it as well before you go into it, because now with the new sets out and stuff like that, you got to stay really up to date on things before you just go into a casting booth and someone throws something down and you're like, what's going on?
What's this card? I haven't seen this before. It's not really an option for them. They got to know.
So, Flake, do you enjoy casting or playing more?
That is a good question. I mean, the difference here is that one is like a guaranteed payday. So I always say, I'm like, given the opportunity of playing in a major event or casting the major event, I will always cast the major event. It's just a responsible thing for me to do. I have to. My landlord thanks me for that. That said, there are times where, like, think of it this way: I have the best seat in the house when it comes to these games. I'm right next to them. I can see them as they're unfolding. I can direct the narrative. I love what I do.
Right.
But it's the same way that I like having, seats behind the dugout of a baseball game and seeing the best in the world play what they play. Don't get me wrong. Every now and then I'd love to just slam a couple bucks down to join the fantasy camp and be amidst the players. Like, I've done that. I've played in callings before. I'm going to play in Nats. I don't expect to win. I know that there are much better players out there than me, but it's the same reason why, I'll slam an entry fee to go to a fantasy camp and take some pitches from God knows who. Like, if Clayton Kershaw's going to be tossing me pitches, like, I'd happily strike out and just say I was there and be like, yeah, but I'm not going to join the MLB to play. That's not the case here.
Right.
So I adore playing. I attend as many armories as I can. I play online on Fab Online as much as I can. Stream it. I'm constantly testing with people, but ultimately that is usually just a primer to being prepared for major events. So given the opportunity, I am at every event, but I'm casting given the choice.
Nice.
Understandable. Hard-hitting question, Flake.
Let's do it.
Most epic question. Cat or dogs?
It's got to be dogs.
Dang
Every day of
it.
the week. I adore dogs. I had dogs. I still have their collars hanging from my rearview mirror in my car, both of them. So they ride with me everywhere I go. They used to love car rides. But I used to dislike cats, but now I'm okay with cats. Now I dig cats, so I'm not opposed to cats. But cats to me are like, they're like roommates that you're just like you got a lease together, and it's like we're just gonna ride this out, you know?
Yep. No.
Yeah, they're
No, no, no,
they're definitely not. I don't know. Dogs and cats are just different. Unfortunately, like I like cats, but we're all allergic, except for Amy.
I'm not.
Yeah.
Oh, if
You
one
are
of
allergic
allergic,
to
one of you
cats,
is
yeah.
allergic, you're all allergic.
Yeah.
So,
I'm not allergic
yeah.
to dogs.
Not allergic to dogs, no ma'am.
I'm just a cat.
Yes.
Hey,
All right, back up.
Go.
Back up. I showed one of you off.
I'm not showing all of you.
All right. Yep. So that was one of the 3 of our dogs. Now they are going insane.
You showed them
Alright.
attention.
I did. I showed one attention. I made a mistake. We kind of touched on this, but did you play any other card games before Fab?
I played over 15 or so. I'd say a good estimate is about 15. A couple years ago, I made a YouTube video of like sort of ranking my top 10 card games I've ever played. And as I was writing all the card games down that I've ever played, I was like, damn, there's like, I thought I would struggle to pull 10, but I've got like 15 just off the top of my head.
Awesome.
Spoiler, Star Wars TCG was number 1.
Okay.
Lord of the Rings TCG was number 2.
Okay.
I hadn't played Fab at that point, but Fab is certainly in the top 5 for sure.
Cool.
Ultimately, though, yeah, I played card games for almost 25 years. I'm 36. I started playing card games, I think when I was 12. So yeah,
Wow.
we're approaching almost 25 years of playing card games.
Dude, that is so awesome. What is it that drew you into Fab?
I was introduced to Fab by a friend of mine, Lewis Woodhouse, who just was casually trying it out and was streaming Tabletop Simulator just to a few people, and I happened to be there and just inquired. I said, "Hey, what is this?" And this is somebody I played card games with before.
Mhm.
And he explained to me the game, and I was like, "All right, this is enough for me to go ahead and pick up some starter decks or some blitz decks or whatever." So I picked up a couple blitz decks and just sort of went through the rules and ran a couple games, and ultimately I was like, this game seems very basic, and obviously there's got to be more to this. So digging into it, looking at different cards and decks and heroes, and just seeing the intricacies, the ideologies of each hero, the unique archetypes, and just their identities themselves that were very unique and different from one to the other. It really appealed to me. I used to play a lot of like first-person shooters, like Overwatch and stuff. And in Overwatch, you have your mains, like the characters that you just identify with and play over and over. And this is something where I was like, wow, I just like Katsu. Like I'm just gonna focus on Katsu, or I just really like Bravo or this or that. And that's kind of where we went, or I personally went with the game, and that's how my first introduction to it, and it just kind of stuck. And from that point onward, I invested in a Katsu list and started going to tournaments.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that most people like, because I have a buddy that I introduced to the game too, and I feel like Flesh and Blood is one of those games where it depends on how much you're willing to invest. And I don't mean money, I mean your time. Because at its core, Flesh and Blood, easy game.
Yeah.
Very easy game to learn, but it is an incredibly hard game to master. And so my buddy was like, "Oh, this game's so easy." And then I was like, "Okay, let me introduce you to Icelander."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh." So it's one of those things, like Flesh and Blood has that intricacy to where, like Wifey and I, all we ever played was blitz decks and sealed. So we were playing the very most basic version of the game, and then we watched these pro players and we're like, I didn't even know that deck could do that.
Right, yeah. I remember that. I was like, whoa.
For like Prism, all I know about Prism in the Blitz deck is that she's got big heralds, she can block with 2, attack with 2, and like it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But in how she went to Living Legend is a completely different playstyle that you'd never know if you just were going based off of that Blitz deck.
So I know you were just talking about Katsu being your go-to, but what set did you actually get into Flesh and Blood at?
The first set that I ever got into, I think I bought Monarch Blitz decks. I think it was right around Monarch came out. But I'm the type where as soon as I like something, it's like I wasn't just gonna explore one or two. Like, so I went out, I bought a bunch of boxes. The first ever box I opened was a Welcome to Wraith box. I got a Tunic in that, like my first or second
so
pack.
cool.
Like, I was like, this is easy. So it's like no problem. My first Arc box was a Skull Cap in it. So I just felt like everything was lining up.
Yeah,
for
you're
me,
a pro player
and
now.
It was great. My first card I really invested in heavily was a Mask of Momentum.
Okay.
I spent like $200 on a Mask of Momentum back when Katsu was like all the rage.
Right.
That's when I got into it. I mean, my favorite hero is still Katsu, I would say, but I mean, Prism really was where I put the most amount of work into learning a hero and learning how to succeed with a very seemingly sort of punchless hero that people now realize was that strong. So
Right.
Katsu was my first love, but Prism, I think, is the hero that I really connected with the most. And as it stands right now, kind of a free agent. Like I don't know how else to explain it. Like I don't want to jump back to Katsu because I don't think it's in a good spot. But I'm looking for a new Bay, as it were, and I'm not sure who that's going
So,
to be.
do you have a specific class you enjoy most in the game, or do you kind of like them all?
I do like Guardian because Guardian can hit like a truck, but it can also sort of turtle up. It has that ability. Ninjas usually just go fast, go hard, and big combat chains. Prism to me, like Illusionist is fun because I don't say it's a high risk, high reward, but with Phantasm, you're really punching above your weight from attack to cost ratio, but there is that caveat that you can just get stuffed off of one solid block. I mean, I gotta say Illusionist just because of the permanence that they can put on the board, you know, be it with the auras with Prism and now the dragons with Dromai. So I do like that. I do like the opportunity of the slow burn buildup into kind of turning the tables on games where it looks like you're losing, but in reality, you know, you're just about to turn it on.
Yeah, I think for us, you know, well, like I said, all we've played is blitz decks and sealed. So we have yet to build constructed decks, and you know, I keep going back and forth with who mine's going to be. But after pulling that Marvel Icelander, it's Icelander. I'm going to build an Icelander. I'm going to get her graded, and my first deck that I build, it's going to be blitz. It's going to be CC. I'm building Icelander, and oh my gosh, she is so beautiful. And just, you know, it was funny because you said you got to find you a new Bay. And the moment she came out, I've been hashtagging Ice Bay everywhere. Every time I mention her, I'm like, Ice Bay. So she's probably going to be mine. What do you think your first hero is going to be that you build?
It's either going to be, I have one of three, and these are my three go-tos now, because we've been doing the Commoner series. So it's either going to be Oldhim, Azalea, or Dory. Those are my three. Those are the three I'm comfortable with, that I understand, that I feel like I could improve on. So those are the only three I'm going to try.
The last question I have for you for today is, what hobbies do you have outside of Fab? And I did purposely wear this shirt just for our interview because I have noticed in the back of your videos, you've got a lot of comics. And if, honey, you duck down for a second, just duck your head down.
Oh.
Oh, you got some graded pieces.
Got some graded pieces back there, yeah.
Yeah. So my hobbies outside of Flesh and Blood are not as tended to as I would like. I used to do a lot of reading, where it was purely just some, you know, mental upkeep where I would just say, okay, minimum one, like I have a book that I want to read. I say one chapter a day just to sort of time out. You know, phone goes away on the charger, coffee ready to go. I usually sit by the bench outside my apartment. Like I'm lucky enough to live by Lake Ontario, so I'll sit on the bench staring at Lake Ontario with my headphones on, reading a book and having a thermos of coffee, and that's usually how I kind of reset. But lately things have been exceptionally busy, so most of my time is spent Fab-related stuff, be it podcasting or writing articles for Fireball or for Flush or for LSS for their website. Just setting things up for future events and stuff like that, where I don't necessarily have as much time to curate and pay attention to my other passions, like writing for fun. Like I used to write fiction for fun. Comic book collecting. I kind of gave up on comic book collecting many years ago, but just my collection needs to be cataloged. It needs to be looked at and sort of itemized, and you know, the trim the fat away. But that's something that I was very into. Right now, honestly, I wouldn't even call it a hobby, but the way that I relax away from card games and, you know, the job portion of my life is cooking, and it's a necessity. I have to eat. Like it's just the way it goes. So I don't like to just slam something in the microwave and eat it and then go. Like to me, the sustenance aspect of food, like, okay, I got to eat something quick so I can get back to what I'm doing. No, I take the time to I like to chop vegetables. I like to cook stuff in a pan. I like to make, big pots of chili or make a nice stir fry or that aspect. To me, there's a lot of therapy in being able to disconnect, put on a podcast, not worry about anything, chop onions, peppers, chop vegetables, make something delicious where basically the fruit of your labor is immediately rewarded in a good meal. And
Nice.
to me, that is where I kind of escape. Whereas all my other hobbies, like in the evenings, I'll connect with some of my closest and oldest friends that I've known for so many years through games like Halo or Apex Legends. Like we'll log in for an hour, play, but it's mostly not necessary to play. It's mostly just to chat,
Right.
and that's kind of like the background noise as we're getting together. But that's not a hobby to me.
Right.
The hobbies I enjoy are card related. So it's odd to reconcile one from the other. Like I know that one of them is more of a profession, but again, like it's weird because when I'm not getting paid to do fab related stuff, I'm doing fab related stuff. So the way it goes, and I guess I'm lucky that way. I gave up on a very lucrative career in the airline business, in management there, to pursue this. I'm a lot broker than I've ever been. I'm a lot less financially stable, but I am the happiest I've ever been, and that's to me what matters.
Starlinked again. All right, so we got the matters at least. It's just going to be like matters.
Like, thanks so much for joining us, but can you make sure you let our watchers know where they can find you?
Yes. So I am out there in the ether. I'm on Twitter at WatchFlake. I'm also hosting the podcast Instant Speed Podcast, which on Twitter is at Instant Speed Pod, which you can find on YouTube, youtube.com/983media. And on Discord or whatnot. I'm always open to replying to questions, or if people want to message me, I mean, feel free. And that's my whole shtick.
No, it's not. He also streams on Twitch.
So I used to stream full time, and I kind of got away from that because it was sort of like really taxing on my mental health. So I did leave that, but I've sort of felt this resurgence of joy doing so by streaming Flesh and Blood through Flesh and Blood Online. So you can find me at twitch.tv/watchflake. So by all means, jump on. But you can find out when I'm live by going on the Twitter and finding me on Twitter.
Very
There
nice.
you go. Well, thank you again, Flake, so much. It is always a pleasure talking with you. Make sure you guys check him out on all those things. And like I said, if you want to help him out a little bit, cast him.
Absolutely.
Pay him for some casting. You will not regret it. We'll link the video that he did for us down below. It was an absolute joy. And can't wait to see you at Worlds and Nats. And yeah, pretty much it.
Until next time, peace out, Gob Squad.
That was a big call. And she walks back in. That's amazing. She walked out of the room to cough. Extremely loud.
Hello. Yep. You're a dog. Yep. Congratulations. Yep. You're a dog. Okay. We get it. All right.
Now, out. Go.
Okay. All right.
Go.
You're a dog. Now get down.
You saved 3 minutes.
I know. I say, look at that. Wrap that sucker up way ahead of schedule.
Put it to bed, tuck it in. Yeah, it's sometimes, I mean, these things happen.